Hi everyone, welcome to Gallant IAS. This is regarding the test 4. We are going to discuss the syllabus and the strategy to approach these mock tests. Now, I presume that you have attempted the last 3 tests, and you would be fairly familiar with the pattern and the mode of questions that is asked in the preliminary exams of UPSC. We closely try to follow the style and question types of UPSC. So here, now the question that we are trying to answer is why the third test is the fourth test, that is geography. Now, if you look at the previous year questions, a pattern emerges and it clearly shows. Now, this table shows the questions asked from geography part from 2011 to 2020. Now, as it is clear that the trend always points to about 10 questions. About 10 questions is asked from geography for the last 10 years. And if you take a closer look at the numbers, it is quite clear that it is not only about 10, but substantial number of questions, sometimes even 17, 18, 16, 14 questions that are asked in the previous year exam. So this is one part that you cannot do without. So there are several important subjects in UPSC, and geography is one of them. And with this you stand to gain 30 to 40 marks hands down on UPSC examination in a single paper. So it is very, very important for you. And this is one subject, one area you cannot do without. Now, here in geography, when you analyze the subject, we approach geography in three different titles: geomorphology, climatology, and oceanography. Now we complete geomorphology. We start with geomorphology because it is one of the largest units, and it is very important, and it has most of the topics that we deal with in geography. Then we move on to climatology, then finally oceanography. In this test, we are only concerned with geomorphology and current affairs related to geography. Now, remember, geomorphology, climatology, and oceanography, all three are interrelated. After completing geomorphology and climatology, the knowledge that you gain from these areas can be applied in oceanography. Similarly, it can be applied backwards to what we have learned in geomorphology and climatology, right? So, what I'm trying to say is essentially all these are interrelated. When you learn one, you will have a chance to better know the other. But in this test, as I have said earlier, I'm just emphasizing just to stress the point that this test is based on current affairs and geomorphology. As it is the first test in geography, you will have to cover, I told you, geomorphology and related current affairs from your geography syllabus. This fourth mock test from Gallant, remember, you are preparing many subjects, and you are preparing on a subject specific manner each time, but your approach to mock test must be same for all the subjects. Clear? Because you may be doing polity last time, or history the next day, or economics the day after that, or geography now. But remember, all this are mock tests, and you have to take them seriously and carefully. And the approach that you take for each of these subjects and each of these tests must be same, must be similar. First of all, now let's discuss what are these approaches I'm talking about. First of all, remember, it's important to test yourself regularly, and that is the reason why we are doing it. But remember, one thing is very important here. It has to be the testing of oneself must be held under the right conditions. By right conditions, I mean you need to try to replicate the conditions similar to the actual examination hall. That is to say, in questions, in atmosphere, and the actual test limit. Stick to all this. Okay. Whatever restrictions you have in the actual examination, try to replicate that and try to stick to that. From our part, we will try to stick to the UPSC manual, their way of asking questions, their style of asking options, their methodology and their logic in answering one approaching one question. But you have to do justice from your part. You have to stick to the timetable, you have to complete your syllabus, you have to go through all the questions and answer them with utmost seriousness. In the test, read through each questions carefully and attempt, if possible, all questions. Now remember, you have to stick by the conditions of UPSC examination, and that means you have to answer many number questions, many more than you actually know. So that brings us to the next point. In this test you might come across topics which you are familiar with, but you will not be sure about the answer. Attempt those questions very seriously. Attempt those questions. See, you have already completed your syllabus, so these areas, at least broadly, are familiar to you. So use your knowledge, your existing knowledge, skill, and logic to answer each questions, and by that you will acquire that required skill, which will help you to clear the examination, pass the examination. Okay. Now, when it comes to syllabus, I told you we are discussing in this test. We are asking from this test only geomorphology and related current affairs. So as in the case of syllabus, we are talking about interior of the earth, materials of the earth, earth's movement, earthquakes, volcanism, tsunami, processes, soils, landforms, India's structure, physiography, and Himalayas. All these are broad topics. These are broad headings. There are several subheadings underneath, and all them are fair games and can be asked for your examination, this examination. Now, after you complete the examination, complete your test, do yourself a favor, go back to your test paper, go back with your answer sheet, go back with your question paper and read through them and try to identify where you have gone wrong. And more specifically, try to understand the questions which you have got wrong. In that also you can categorize as the questions or the areas you got wrong but you were familiar with, and the questions you were unfamiliar with but you got wrong anyway. Okay. And try to find out the logic, how to apply the knowledge. Try to form a pattern of answering these kinds of questions which you do not know. That will help you tremendously when you appear for the real thing. Okay. So these are the only things I have to discuss. So we talked about why geography is important. We talked about the different areas of geography, and we discussed the syllabus of this particular test form. Now I have also given you how to approach these tests. Not only this test, all the tests you have to follow these approaches. So attempt the questions carefully. Read through the questions with purpose, not with the attitude of just doing it for the sake of doing it, but puts purpose into it. So all the very best. Happy learning.